life on the road. It's so glamorous. The tour bus pulls up to the next city, and there's the mayor standing right there at the curb, holding the key to the city. Just for you, man. The best cocaine, the finest women. It's all there for the taking. Your dream job awaits. Now the reality. Dream job? Sometimes. Glamorous? Not really. Pain in the ass? Once in a while. Thankless job? I often talk about the musician's life on the road. The ups, the downs, the bad, the good. Being stuck in an airport for 5 hours because your flight got canceled. Stuck in the snow. Bad food, bad weather. Then there's the awesome parts. The shows. The crowd. That feeling like a double shot of cocaine when you jump up on stage. Seeing the faces light up when you play a familiar song. That feeling erases all the fucked up things and all the brutal travel that you had to endure just to get there. Well, what does this have to do with being a tour manager? Well, tour managers make all of it happen. They troubleshoot the bad and they share in the good. They are an integral part of any traveling rock band, part of the team, part of the tribe. So let's talk about what it takes to be a professional band tour manager. What does a tour manager do exactly? Well, I can tell you from personal experience because I have acted as my own band's tour manager for about 20 years. In the UK, in Europe, in the US, I've always worn 3 hats: singer, band leader, and tour manager. There's usually one guy in the band who takes care of the band's business. In Slaughter, Dana Strum does it. In Quiet Riot, Alex does it. If you don't bring a tour manager on the road, then there's usually one guy in the band who sort of acts as that de facto tour manager. It saves money, and more importantly, it saves an extra salary, an extra place on the bus, an extra plane flight, and it's also one less guy out there fucking things up. Okay, so what does a tour manager do? Well, like the title says, he manages the business of the tour. He plans the day-to-day logistics of the tour. He might facilitate and book the plane flights. If there's interviews with the band, he will coordinate and set those up. He secures the band's ground transportation. He sorts out the hotels every night. He will also collect the band's fee from the venue and is responsible for the accounting of the tour. Accounting. Like salaries, travel expenses, paying for the bus or the van. That means, the gas, the tolls, paying the driver if you're on a bus. Incidentals, like broken instruments or new drum heads. When anything breaks down on the tour, it's usually the tour manager that has to deal with it. A tour manager may also double as the merch guy. He will set up the band's merch, count it in. He'll coordinate with the venue to find someone to sell the merch. Then, after the show, he will collect the money, pack up the shirts that are left, and load them into the bus or the van. A tour manager has to deal with the individuals in the band, and this is where it gets sticky. Sometimes there's an asshole in your band. Sometimes all 4 guys are assholes. And the tour manager has to put on his diplomat hat every day and deal with each band guy's individual ego, each band guy's mood that particular day, the band drunkenness, the stupid behavior, all the Keith Moon shit. There's a lot of that when a band is young and just starting out. A tour manager has to wrangle all the guys into the van after the show. One guy might be passed out at the bar. Another guy is in some strange girl's car getting a job. The tour manager has to make sure all the guys are safely back in the van and get them to the next show. That part of the job is truly thankless. This is the hardest part, trust me. Not the business part, but the diplomat part. A lot of guys can do the accounting, but it takes a special kind of person with the right people skills to deal with a bunch of crazy asshole musicians. He has to not get defensive when people get shitty with him. He has to bite his tongue and not get mad. He can't just punch out some drunk band guy who gets in his face because he's got a girl and he doesn't want to leave right now. Or maybe someone vomited in the front lounge and he has to clean it up. Or someone shit in the bus toilet. Or he has to wake up early and scour the bus for drugs before they cross the border. In our early love-hate tour days, we used to go through tour managers once a month. We were out of control. Let me tell you, life on the road back then was like ancient Rome, Caligula shit every night. You couldn't tell any of us what to do because we already knew everything, except how to keep the band together and be successful, of course. A tour manager does what is called advancing the show. He calls or emails the venue or the promoter and sends them a list of the band's production requirements and the band's food rider. Now, this is really important. A professional band needs professional equipment to sound good, and that means real soundboards, not cheap karaoke shit. If a band isn't traveling with crew guys like us, then the venue has to provide sound and light guys. And by that, I mean real guys, not idiots. Not friends of the promoter. I can't overemphasize the importance of advancing every show because venues will try to cut corners. When you ask for Marshall amps, they'll try to bring in cheaper amps. You have to be super specific. We need Ampeg SVT bass cabinets, not those Kmart amps you have in your back room. Bands that do flyout shows like us obviously don't carry drums with us, so when you ask for drums, once again, you have to be very specific about what you want, or you'll show up and there will be this cheap Ringo Starr drum kit. We need this many rack toms. We need this many cymbal stands. Each drum has a certain size and a width. 24-inch kick drum, 13-inch rack toms. Believe me, if you're not specific, the venue will just give you whatever the opening band's gear is and you'll have to make do. I've seen this happen 100 times. You show up and it's like fucking Green Acres. The stage is being put together out of 2x4s and there's 3 guys soldering the sound system together. Totally fucked up. Then there's the band's food and drink rider. Now, a lot of bands have totally ridiculous riders. A load of nonsense. Bands ask for hundreds of dollars in liquor, shrimp cocktails, veggie trays, lunch meat trays, candy bars, avocados, chips and salsa, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 5-star comfort. And a lot of times the venues will just look at the band's rider and start crossing shit off immediately. So the tour manager has to negotiate with the promoter to get as much as he can for the band. You know, young bands have no money, so they often have to survive on the rider food they get every night. So it really is important to get as much as you can. The tour manager will also find out the band's load-in time at the club, the setup time, the sound check time, and of course the show time. He'll make a schedule for the band and he'll post it somewhere in the dressing room or on the bus. The tour manager has to find out how many load-in guys the venue is providing for the load-in, and also make sure these guys are there when the band is finished for the load-out. Often at the smaller club level, the load-in guys are just total fuck-ups and will totally get drunk during the show and disappear or totally useless. So the band is left loading out their own gear after the show in their stage clothes in the cold. This happens a lot in the smaller venues. So basically, from the time that the band shows up to the time that the band drives off, the tour manager is on the clock. He is responsible if the venue doesn't have the right gear. He's responsible if there's no food. He's responsible if one of the guys is too f***ed up to play. Everything that happens on gig day, the tour manager is responsible for, bad or good. If anything is f***ed up, the band guys will yell at the tour manager, "Fix it!" And he has to try to fix it. So he's constantly on his cell phone, back and forth, trying to keep everyone happy. The band, the venue, getting the band ready, getting the band up on stage, getting the band off stage, getting the band back into the van after the show and back to the hotel. It really doesn't stop until he's back in his room at the hotel. And even then, sometimes it doesn't stop. Oh shit, one of the band guys left his phone at the venue. Oh shit, we left a couple of guitar pedals back at the venue. We got to go get it. It really is a thankless fucking job. Now, as you can see, tour managers don't really get to party much. Or should I say, real professional tour managers don't get to party much. There's 1,000 wannabe fuck-up tour managers that do. I've seen it. Tour managers chasing girls before and during the show. Tour managers getting wasted and fucking their shit up. Tour managers losing the band's money. This happens a lot, and those guys are always fired. Now that's why you shouldn't hire one of your friends to go out on the road with you and tour manage, because it always ends badly. He'll be out there on the road and way over his head, freaking out, and when he fucks up, there goes the friendship. Shit gets personal. A lot of guys have the best of intentions, but when things get hectic out in the middle of nowhere, you need a guy with a cool head, not some guy throwing punches at fans or just puking his guts out in the bushes. Now, I started out as a tour manager because I couldn't afford to pay for a real one, so I had to learn the hard way by failure. I made a million mistakes along the way. Like everything else in life, you have to learn by making mistakes and moving forward. Trial and error, that's the only way to learn. Sobriety helps a lot, I gotta say, especially with the math. Finding a tour manager that's not a drunk is probably a good idea. There are a lot of professional tour managers out there, and by professional, I mean they are expensive. You could pay a few $1,000s a week for a real guy. It takes a real guy to tour manage a Megadeth or a Skid Row or a Metallica. You know, it's all dictated by whatever level the band is at on the food chain. If you're at the LA Guns or the Tom Kiefer level, you don't need a Taylor Swift level guy. Logistics dictated by where the band is on the food chain and how much they can afford to pay. Clubs, theaters, arenas, they all require a different set of rules and a different level of tour manager to manage things. Whoop-oo! So there you are, a little glimpse into the inner workings of how a band gets from point A to point B. The 100 little things along the way that can and often do things up. All these are handled by the band's tour manager. Someone has to cross all those T's to make sure the band shows up and the band runs on time. And that will be me in 2025, when once again, I will be back in the UK celebrating the 35th anniversary of Blackout in the Red Room. I can't wait to get there. It'll be killer. So it's your old pal Jizzo, rocking and rolling, and we'll see you next time.